Starting to record. Okay, so final project kind of things. Okay, as I mentioned, proposal day will be on Thursday. That will be over Zoom. Directions on how that will be organized will be sent, as a class announcement, but suffice to say, it will be on Zoom. Okay, the proposal is mandatory to do, and I'll explain like how mandatory it is in a second. But it is mandatory that you come and propose your idea to me on Thursday. If for some reason you cannot meet me on Thursday, it is your duty to meet with me ASAP, be it that evening over Zoom, or on Friday, or on Sunday, right? Send me an email so we can get this over Zoom. If you come to me with being unable to choose between two really awesome ideas, great, that's not an issue. Here's what I'll help you figure out, okay, which one do you want to do more, and if it's feasible. Some of these things I might go like, I don't know how feasible this is for you. Take the weekend to look at this idea, because you'll have time over the weekend ostensibly to take maybe an hour to look at the idea and see if it's feasible to do, and then make the decision. So, like if you are having trouble to decide, that's okay. You'll still be checked off as having met with me, right? But as long as you decide, you'll be fine. Okay, you may have noticed that I put in a new 0-point field in your grade book called Proposal Day. That is just simply going to be a way for me to check off if you met with me. Now, the reason for this is that there are basically three ways to fail the final project. Okay, the first, of course, is you cheat, right? Plagiarize the work. Give me something that you've turned in and it's like, yeah, it's obvious this is AI and you didn't do anything, right, kind of thing. That's going to be a huge issue. But I mean, like, okay, the second are mechanical failure, so to speak. You got to turn this in on GitHub, right? It's got to be uploaded to GitHub. I've got to be private. So it's got to be public. If you set your GitHub to private and I can't see it, or you fail to upload a video, right, going over it, I'm going to give you a 0 until that is remedied, right? Once it's remedied, I can grade it accordingly. GitHub will have timestamps, so I'll be able to say, oh, it wasn't actually late. You just had it set to private, and you didn't know that because, of course, you were logged in and couldn't see that it was private. Okay? So this part is a bit easier to handle, but the most important thing, this is how mandatory the proposal is. If you have not turned in the proposal by the time the progress report is due, you will get an automatic 0 on the project. Okay? So you have to have the proposal. So the proposal is due Thursday, right? We are dedicating Thursday to making sure that the proposal is going to get turned in, right? All you have to do is upload it to GitHub and get that link to me after you meet with me. That's all you have to do. And even then, the entire point of having the proposal day field that I created was just simply to check off that you met with me, right? Which is important so that I can know, oh, okay, maybe you just forgot to turn it in. Well, at least you gave me your idea. I remember the idea. Let's just simply make sure that, right? This is just simply to make sure that the students so why do I have this? Same reason I have this due date being hard thing. I get students at the end of the semester basically saying, hey, I didn't turn in my final project because things were busy. Here it is 2 days later. The due date for the final project is very hard. It is 6 points per an hour late. Okay? Every single time I have made an exception for a student against my better judgment, I have been universally disappointed. I have been either disappointed or incensed. And disappointed is the better outcome in that case. Incensed is generally because I get a student who turned in, like every single time, if I'm disappointed, it's because the work is nothing. It is such a low quality, low effort bullshit kind of thing. Like here, you press the button and I'm going to display an ASCII figure. And I only got 4 of them. It's like, what is this? It's not a game, it's a little print program. Okay, it's not anything. Whereas, like, the incensed is when I find people, this is when most people who cheat because they're asking for an extension and they turn in something they plagiarize. So, So that's why it's a hard deadline, and this is just simply there to simply say, hey, the students who are generally asking for that kind of exception never even proposed in the first place. Like 95% of the cases where that happened, they never even asked for proposal they never even met with me in the first place to go over the final project. So that's why this is there. It's just simply to save me time and pain. Again, emphasize this is meant to be a learning experience, not a tech startup. Okay? Other things grade-wise, I'm going to try to put in, I've told your TAs if they for some reason haven't entered your grades yet for demoing, they need to do that now so I can go through and mark undemoed stuff like back through lab 6 as zeros. Like stuff like the hurricane tracker and Hawaiian pronunciation, I'm not going to mark them as zeros if you haven't done them yet, right? And even in that case, right, zeros can always be changed into full grades if you did actually demo it or never got around to it, right? I'm still being very lenient on the policies with regards to letting people demo late and stuff. So if you haven't demoed your late and you've been super awkward and embarrassed about it, I don't care. Just come and demo your work. I don't care all I care is that you've got the work done at this point, right? That 2 weeks notification is just there for basically after fall break, because that's when I start getting a lot more strict. Okay? That's where I start getting really strict about the stuff in my syllabus. Okay? With that, we do have your exam upcomings. The exams start tomorrow, so we do want to make sure that we go over the practice exam. Any questions before I move on to the practice exam? All right. With regards to the exam, once again, you do get to bring in a cheat sheet. The cheat sheet can be double-sided. It can be handwritten or typed. The only restriction is that it is one sheet of paper. I don't care what size it is, so long as it doesn't interfere with the person next to you, right? So if you want to like cut off a giant, if you want to like cut up a poster and like, you know, have a reasonable section that you can fold up and unfold, that's fine. The most innovative thing I've seen a student do is actually give me a freaking scroll as their cheat sheet. And technically, since it was one whole sheet of paper, we allowed it. So again, the reason we allow the cheat sheet to begin with is because, first off, you would not be coding without like some ability to look stuff up, okay? But also the ability, for students who are really prepared, the making the cheat sheet, I find, is a lot more beneficial than actually having the cheat sheet. Making the cheat sheet your study guide, it can be very, very useful. If for some reason you do the thing and you completely forget to bring your cheat sheet with you, I will have. So here's the front page of like the practice exam, right? On the back of that, I'll actually have some hints and some like guides, like, okay, this is how you slice things, this is how the len function, this is the read function, like those kind of like math.square root if I need that, right? I'll have some notes that I find useful, that are useful hints on the back there. So it's worth your time checking there, okay? Just in case especially if you forget to bring a cheat sheet with you, because that's my kind of just notes there. Okay? So let's go over these short review questions. The string, Hal's moving castle is a valid string. Why isn't it a problem that the single character in the words Hal's isn't escaped? And what this is referring to is this phenomena over here, which is that if I have, and I'll just focus on Hal's. If I have Hal's, okay, whoops. Oh, my fingers are being weird. Okay, Hal's is fine, but if I do this, now we get in trouble, right? And what this is going, and this has to do with basically escape sequences. You don't, in other programming languages, in order to do something like, he said hello, like this, you'd have to escape the characters. But in Python, you can just use the other character mark. So you can use, in other programming languages, you use double quotes for all strings, and then you use single quotes for characters, but Python's like, what's a character? Everything's just a string. So you can use single quotes and double quotes for strings. Okay, and if you use single quotes, then you don't have to escape the, sorry, if you use double quotes, you don't have to escape the single quotes, and if you use single quotes, you don't have to escape the double quotes. I'm like really bad at typing today, right? Okay. Answer, Python is special. Okay. What is the main difference between a dictionary and a list? Lists are ordered collections of data, whereas dictionaries are unordered and are just simply key value pairings. Lists have indexes that is a series of numbers. It's a sequence of numbers if you want to be more specific. And dictionaries are just simply arbitrary key value pairings. Okay? If L is a list, what does this expression do? That is saying from the beginning to the end, but in reverse. It is simply, this simply creates a copy of whatever L is in reverse. Let's go ahead and take a look. L is equal to, whoops. Oh my gosh, L is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I say L, ::, -1, easy one-line kind of way to reverse it. It's just slice notation saying, hey, I'm going to go from, it's slice notation for this. The length of L, it's shorthand for this slice notation, which is, whoops, going from, oh, not -1. For this. Start at the end, figure out where you're going, and go in reverse. Or go until you stop, and then reverse. So it figures out since you want to go in reverse, it wants to start at the very end. It's just in very nice shorthand. How can you use slice notation to get the last 3 characters of a string? S is equal to, this is a string. So how do I get the ing? Last 3 would be -3 to the end for ing, right? -1 is the last character, -2 is the second to last character, -3 is the third to last character. I would review your slices. They're going to be very useful on the exam. How would you simulate a coin flip with Python? If you forget to say import random, I don't care. Saying import random is not what I'm testing you on. Okay, so if you can assume that random or math or whatever is imported, but to do a coin flip, there's a couple different ways. Random dot choice between you could do basically there's as long as it's 50-50, you can basically say how you want to do it. Random dot choice, H or T. You could say random dot rand int 1 to 2, where 1 is heads, 2 is tails, right? Okay, you could say that. As long as it's a 50-50 chance, I'm going to be I would be very lenient with that, right? This one's very interesting. If I have a coin that lands on that's slightly weighted in favor of heads, it will land on heads 55% of the time. How would you simulate this using the random module? And this would be actually a bit more involved. Let's go ahead, go to desktop, exam2 review .py. I'd basically be doing something like this: import random, and then I would have to do flip, or I'd say num is equal to, it doesn't really matter again what it is, random.rand. And what I would do is I'd say I'd give let's see, so it's inclusive, so I need 100 I need 100 different numbers. So 1 through 100. Let's see. I have to do some math for a second. 55, 1 through 55 is 54, so 56. So if num is less than 56, print heads, else print tails, right? And that involved me having to like count, okay, wait, what is the range? But let's assume for a second that I am feeling numerically disinclined, okay, for a second. Number-wise, I don't know what I'm doing, okay? We could do it like this. Let's go, so if it's a coin that's slightly weighted in favor of heads, where basically 55% of the time it's going to land on heads, and 45% of the time it's going to land on tails, I could simulate it as a quote-unquote, and this is going to sound a bit weird, a 100-sided coin rather than a 2-sided coin, okay? I know that sounds weird, a coin with 100 sides. Think of it like a 100-side dice or something, where 55 sides are labeled heads and 45 sides are labeled tails. Again, because I don't want to think about ranges and math and stuff like that. 55 plus, and then we've got tail times 45. And then what I'll do is I'll simply say print, and I'm going to do this as one line because I'm going to be obnoxious, random dot shuffle sides. So that shuffles the entire thing, and then I'm going to get index 0 from there. Well, let's not be so obnoxious. Random dot shuffle sides. Yeah, because it doesn't return. Yeah, random's not going to return anything. So sides is. So I do want to do it like this. Sides 0. Yep. There we go. That's what we want. And this is another way, and this is a perfectly valid way to do it, where basically it's slightly weighted in favor of heads. And what this did is that basically I shuffled the sides around. I shuffled basically these 55 and these 100 sides around, and I'm basically saying whatever is first in the list after I shuffle it is whatever side landed face up, so to speak. Make sense? I mean, this is the same as just choosing one randomly. I've just shuffled it around. Okay. There's other ways to do this. Let's continue on. File reading. This will definitely be worth 20 points on the exam. On the exam, generally speaking, I do have these rubrics that are going to be very helpful for you. Okay? These rubrics are going to be things like, and give me a second to pause and mute.